Right, hello all. Welcome to the Friday, January 2024 edition of Low Code Campfire. This is episode number 129. Today, I thought we'd talk a little bit about some developer tools and, well, whatever else you want to talk about. I am Dale Warner, head of support for Plant App, joined today from Plant App by Patrick Anderson, who's technical success manager. And I see a lot of fresh faces, or rather regular faces from our Campfire community. So welcome. This is an event we do every Friday at 10 a.m. Central Time, this hour, to get together, enjoy each other's company a little bit, but we also talk about techniques, challenges, experiences using Plant and App. And so bring something to show or be ready to help somebody. We record all these, put them out on YouTube, so youtube.com/plantandapp. You should subscribe there and watch every minute of every episode. We run this agenda. We always do introductions. We always go around the campfire and do first call, and then who knows what else we'll get into. But it depends on how long first call goes. But after an hour or so, we stop, turn off the recording, raise a virtual adult beverage, and talk a little bit more. So do engage with us, jump in, show and tell. There's a chat window. You just do get involved. We ask you if you've got noise going on in the background to mute. Other than that, be nice to each other. And you can submit questions and topics in advance. Every now and then we get one of those, and that gives me a chance to prepare for that. So you can use this QR code or links in the emails that we send to you. Hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome.
Good morning, all.
Hello, good morning.
Good
Hello,
morning, everyone.
Friday.
So let's see, let's get started. Anybody with a first call, something we need help with, want to tell us about?
I don't know if this rises to the occasion of first call or not, but Dale, as you know, I'm in the process of attempting to upgrade, and I did come across an issue. It seems to be centered around Bootstrap. I don't know if you want to cover that now or if you want to maybe, as the group, tackle it on Afterglow.
Um, it's your call. If you think it might help people in general as part of the recording, then cool. If it's more specific to you, then we can take
I
it.
mean, it might. I don't know. All I know is I'm getting a Bootstrap 5 error, and I'm scratching my head because I'm not quite sure what's going on. Um, since the skin, at least I should say, the skin claims to be Bootstrap 5, but I don't know what I'm missing, or maybe I set something up wrong when I was flipping everything over on this page. So,
Well, so just as a general guideline and areas where we've run into problems with Bootstrap 5 before, and I'll give Patrick time to think about this and maybe he can add on too. But um, so the history is Bootstrap 3, we used to load that when you chose a Bootstrap 3 template. When you're doing Bootstrap 5, our new policy is that we don't load it. And so the theme is responsible for loading it. And in order to do that, there is a CSS component, but there's also a JavaScript component, and both of those have to be loaded by the theme. Um, and yeah, and if they're not, then you might see some incompatible results. So to check to make sure that both of those things are out there, and then also to make sure that there isn't, if you inspect your sources, make sure that there isn't Bootstrap 3 content also on the page. What version are you at this point? You're doing your testing.
I have gotten up to, where am I? 1.20. So I've gone up 2 levels.
Yes,
Um,
so we introduced Bootstrap 5 as experimental in 1.19 and it became more stable in 1.20, but it gets better and better and we've there were certain instances where we loaded Bootstrap um, 5 even though our stated intention was to not load it on the page. There were some instances if we looked around and I think it was on a listing, if we looked around and saw that it wasn't loaded, we did load it, and then we came to the conclusion that that causes problems. It can cause inconsistencies. For example, the version that we load versus the version that was being loaded on. A version could get loaded on anyway. That we've gone back and forth, but landed on we don't load it. So you may be in one of those versions in the middle that gets caught there too. But what be happy to dig into it and see if we can.
yeah, I mean, can you tell us specifically what Plantain app is looking for to determine if Bootstrap 5 is being loaded? Because in the error, documentation, even the read more link that's here, it doesn't specifically say what Plantain app is looking for to validate BS5 is on the skin.
Right.
So
And
it could be that this skin is just, it might be loading it, maybe it's changing the file name. I don't know, but if we knew,
yeah, and I think that's a possibility. You use you're using DNN and Go theme correctly? Correct.
correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that DNN and Go might their Bootstrap 5 because I think that's maybe who else is on the call here? Because I feel like maybe we've discussed this before. Um, and somebody had to go to DNN and Go for some support with this possibly, but do they their Bootstrap 5 skins use the styles, but they actually have their own custom JS and CSS files, I think. Is that
They
sound
they
like
definitely do have their own custom stuff, but I mean, in order for it to be considered Bootstrap 5, I would assume they have to load all the Bootstrap 5 files. But again, I don't know if they're somehow tweaking the file names,
So it's not
or
by
something like
file
that.
name.
So
I've seen the routine. I don't recall it exactly, but essentially it's looking for the fact that it's looking for JavaScript. If the JavaScript Bootstrap 5 is loaded, it's some function that in there that it's calling to say that it just expects to be there. And we could find it, but um,
yeah, I mean, I
another
could show my screen to show you what I'm seeing.
sure. And also just from a debugging step, if you flip it to a page builder page and it works, then it definitely points it to theme, something that's missing on the theme. But sure, if you want to show your screen, by all means. Do I need to, let's see,
Yeah, I can't.
can't grab it from me.
Hey, while you're getting that in there, Ben, I want to tell you that I know the theme that you're using, DNG Pro, it's had a number of updates to it.
No, I'm not using DNG Pro.
Okay, well,
Not
good.
for this one. It's Obvio.
Oh,
Specifically because for these websites, they must be what's known as ADA compliant for federal law
yeah,
standards.
that's the one.
And the Obvio is the only one that is designed to be ADA compliant,
Okay, well, then I guess the
out of the
point,
box.
if I were to generalize it, I would say make sure you have the latest one because I know in their documentation or on their screen they say that it's Bootstrap 5, but there's been various levels, and so the latest version would be the way to go.
Hmm. Yeah, no, I definitely checked that I had the latest skin and I downloaded that. But yeah, so basically I'm seeing this message here telling me that it requires Bootstrap 5, but like I said, to my knowledge, this skin is Bootstrap 5, and for the most part, everything looks to be using new styling.
So
Um,
if you inspect this, inspect and look at the source, what Bootstrap is being what JavaScript is being loaded, and what elements of Bootstrap 5 are there in the sources?
I even find that?
You can go to the window that has all the HTML in it and just do a search for Bootstrap.
This window here?
Yeah. And it'll give you the reference to where it's pulling in Bootstrap, and it'll tell you the version.
Not really.
What else do you find? Bootstrap, yeah, that one looks like maybe one of theirs.
I think if you
You're getting
follow
the
the reference,
styles.
That's action form.
you'll probably figure it out before I find it. But I had a little note that I made to myself on how to figure out what Bootstrap you have on. Let's see if I can find it.
It looks like the Bootstrap JS isn't present. Since now you're down past and you're seeing the classes.
Unless they're throwing it lower down. See, like right there, I see. Oh, no, that's action grid. Never mind. Action form. This is
While you're looking, I'll comment on what Jen is saying, because that does make sense. But I think, though, that the message is slightly different when there's a conflict. Does that sound right to you, Dale?
Yes, when it's
yeah.
conflict, when it sees both, it's the problem. But when I'm
Yeah.
looking on the
looks like it's the very last one.
bootstrap.js, I'm seeing Bootstrap 5 coming out of a Bootstrap 5 file folder. So, for example, if you flipped this page to page builder,
right, yeah.
I think you'll see the message will go away, and you can see what's the JavaScript that gets loaded.
All right. And sorry, Patrick, what was it that you said Jen was saying? Because I can't see the chat at the moment.
Oh, just that there's sometimes there's a message that indicates there's a conflict on the page, that you have both Bootstrap 3 and Bootstrap 5 loaded. She was saying to check every module to make sure that they all are, loading Bootstrap content. But I think that the message that you would be seeing then would be saying that specifically that the page has both Bootstrap 5 and 3 loaded, and that's not the
Right.
message you're getting. So
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
The first message I was getting, and thanks to Mark for basically smacking me on the side of the head and saying search online first, was basically a XML error, and apparently someone had already posted that in the community, and that was basically that, like, one of my action forms was set to Bootstrap 5 while the other ones were set to 3. So then I was getting an XML error,
Yeah.
but once I switched all of them to Bootstrap 5, that went away, but then this popped up. But let me go ahead and hold on 1 second. Nope.
As Ben consults one of his many other screens.
Okay, had to log back in. Okay, so we're gonna switch this to, you said page builder?
Page builder, and make sure that the layout is default BS5.
Okay. This is a test server, so they threw everything on one server and they didn't give me a lot, so a lot of power, so it's a little slow. All right, so I don't see the error messages. Okay,
Yeah, so
so
now
that,
if you inspect and take a look at the Bootstrap 5 references, I think you'll see there's a yeah.
that's the CSS. Form. Oh, for love. Wait a minute. How do I?
The ... will allow you to
Thank
undock
you.
it.
That's what I was looking for.
Yes, I wrestle with this one all the time, trying to see and do everything. So I think what you're going to find is that just Bootstrap 5 JS isn't present, and it's using that to say, hey, I can't find it. And it needs the JS things, not just the CSS things.
I see script.js and Bootstrap bundle min. I don't see Bootstrap
Anyone, Mark,
5.js.
for example, if you have a DNN Go that has Bootstrap 5, it'd be interesting to see what JS is present for them. But I think that's would be the problem.
Oops. And yeah, I'm right back where I started. The only one that I see is this one, Bootstrap bundle min.js. I don't see a Bootstrap 5.js or a Bootstrap.js. I don't know if that's the one that it's looking for. But that's what I'm saying. Like if I knew specifically what Plantain app was looking for file-wise or whatever, or what function or whatnot, then at least I can feed that back to the, Linda at DNN Go support, and then, she can make whatever adjustments needs to be made so that Plantain app detects that Bootstrap is there and doesn't
So
give me that error.
take a look. The common static, let me see if I can. I was going to try and browse to this common static bundle min.js.
But and also the file that you're looking for would be, I would think, in the skin directory. So the directory where the DNN Go skin is installed.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't that make sense? If we're expecting this the theme to load
Provide it.
Yeah.
Yes. So I just checked on our that
Yeah,
JS Bootstrap bundle min.js, file, and that returns, if you load that file, it returns Bootstrap p 5.1.13 or 5.1.3. So that's the all right. So so Bootstrap min.js is there in Obvio. Are they loading it? And what if you were to open up that min.js file? What is in there? Yeah, it's 5.2.3. Okay. So is that being loaded on the page? I think this is where you're going to find the problem. There's some function in here that we call that's looking for that confirms that it's there.
Bootstrap min.js.
So I also have 5.1.3 loaded on another site that's working fine with Plantain app. And I'll throw out there as a comment that Jerry is also using Obvio. Not on the call today, but he's a reference.
Oh, he does use Obvio? I wasn't sure.
Pretty sure that's the new one he installed.
Bootstrap min.js. Yeah, it's not found.
Yeah, I suspect, for example, as a proof of concept, if you were to, on an action form, if you were to do a load static files action, you could load the file yourself and see if it solved the problem. And then that tells you exactly, if it did, that tells you exactly what to request. Well, I was thinking there's an event, but you can do it this way too if you want.
Oh. Yeah, I guess that probably be better.
Yeah, so like load static. Doesn't matter the ID. You got a bunch.
Of course, this doesn't look the right way. Come on. That's what I wanted.
I noticed in the Plantain app skin, that path was different. Bootstrap, it had a Bootstrap 5 before the file rather than just a plain Bootstrap.
Right, it's different depending on where it gets provided, but
Okay.
This URL, does it accept a relative path?
I believe
Do you
it
know?
will.
Okay. Lo and behold.
Bada bing.
Although now I get this, I don't know what that means. These are action grids. Not very descriptive.
So it's possible that the version that they've put in that folder that you pointed to was 5.2 something. It's possible that the one that we have that we were using is 5.1 something. It was 5.13. So, for example, instead you could point to the one that we have and see if that solves that issue. I'm just making a guess here. I can pass the path of ours to you if you like in the chat.
What? Yeah. Please type allow pasting below. Oh,
Yeah, I
goodness
saw that too.
gracious.
That must be new. I just noticed that as
Yeah, I
well.
was about to say,
Yeah.
I've never seen that before.
Yeah.
I've always pasted. Okay. 5, 2, 3. And let me refresh this. As Jen said, to see if we can inspect if the error is hidden. Not really. Nothing here. And I know I checked the error log and nothing gets logged on the error log regarding that error. So I don't know what that specific error is. But like you said, if I load, so which is the one that
In the chat.
I put it in the chat.
oh, you did. Sorry. Okay.
So are you trying to figure out what that little dash looking button is?
Well, that's a close button. I'm trying to figure out what this means.
Is that on a listing?
Yes.
Because that resembles the the buttons that we would add to a listing when we're using the older type icon provider.
I think you need a slash there in the front. Oh, yep,
What?
yep, good.
Nope.
Yeah, I'm going to suggest you look into the settings of your listing, manage your listing, and see what icon provider is being used on your button.
On every individual button?
Yeah. So Font Awesome is okay. The older style, I forget what that was called, is it is not loaded anymore. Snap upgraded and has discontinued it. And you
Well,
notice that when you're upgrading.
this one has no buttons whatsoever.
And
Okay. And that one also comes up with that same message.
is that part of the same module?
This is part of the module above it. So this is the beginning of this module, and then this is the beginning of the next module. So this error is attached to this action grid.
We might also look, but I don't know how deep we want to get here, but at the load the network tab and then reload the page to see if we get errors on the API calls.
Whoa.
Obviously, a lot
I
going
saw
on.
a lot going on, but it's all 200 status.
At the top, switch to the fetch XHR. Yeah, there. Yep, nothing. Okay.
I don't hang out in the network tab very often, so I'm not
Yeah.
familiar.
When we
But
when we switched to Page Builder, was it doing that or not?
I don't think it was, but
I don't think it was, but I don't recall.
Yeah, we just saw the error went away, and I didn't observe whether we had that. So that would be another test step. Go back and see if, again, always want to try and insulate from the, is it something on theme?
Okay, so I gotta make a note of this. Bootstrap 5 min.
Still says
No.
calculating, so it might be
Well,
unrelated.
I mean, I'll figure that out. That's probably just my Java code, I guess, for some
Mhm.
reason is not playing very nice with this, but the error on the bottom is gone. Yeah, it doesn't show that error message. But what that error is, I don't know. It doesn't detail. So I don't know how to fix it if I don't know what's causing that error.
Yep, if you feel free to open a support ticket with that. Perhaps we can find it. Another thing, I mentioned before that, or last week, that trying to debug problems from 5 versions ago.
Yeah, no, and I
Possible.
totally get that. The only thing was like one of the things that happened while I was doing this upgrade was what the heck was it? It was some sort of an issue during the upgrade. I went up to version 119, then I went up to 120, and I was having a problem with editing a action form. It was giving me an error. Um, And then I said, all right, well, I don't know. I spent a little bit of time. I said, let me upgrade to 120. Maybe the fact of upgrading to the next level will fix it. And I did that and it didn't. So, there also is an argument for,
Yep.
not necessarily, allowing an error to continually compound and go down the trail. I, you know, it, I figure regardless of what version it is, it should be functioning without errors. So at this point, I'd like to figure out what these errors are before I start saying, all right, let me just continue upgrading because God only knows if I'm just compounding an issue by continuing going down the line of versions and allowing a error to continue to propagate through it. All right.
Well,
Well,
we didn't get all the way there, but we got an inch closer.
yes, thank you very much. I appreciate it. At least I got one piece to let her know that they have to fix. And then hopefully if we could figure out what that other error is, then I can give her that, and then hopefully she can make the changes and get me a updated version soon. I appreciate it.
So, anyone else with something first call? Well, I have contributions. I've been threatening this for a long time and finally got it taken care of. So since we met last time, out on campfire.plantanapp.com, there is this Get Tokens JSON. So this is the action that will allow you to retrieve all of what's in your context and put it into a JSON array. So this is it just could be a developer debugging tool. This is a personal contribution, not a Plant and App supported contribution, but I've confirmed with our product team that we're going to provide something like this, probably more advanced than my skills developed. But in the meantime, if you want the ability to look and see what is in your context, this is a great one to do it. So it's a simple package extension install, and then you get a new action, and the action lets you retrieve context.
What do you mean by context, Dale?
All your tokens.
Oh, okay.
So this is what you know what, I should put an example out on here. So let's if I am not logged in sudden, so let me get logged in. But I'll put an example in here. I'll show you what exactly it means. So if we were to add a form, we'll put it here, managing it. We'll put two fields on. This will provide a great amount of illustration. So we'll add a text box. And we will add a date time picker. And then we'll add a button that says show values. And the action is this new JSON action, get context tokens JSON. We fill it in and we'll call it the JSON as that's what's going to come out of this. It returns the context tokens as a JSON array. And then I will add an error message that just shows that value. Right. So we'll save it and go back and take a look. Anybody wants to know, my birthday's coming up. So there's a name and a value for every item that's in your current token context. So the name text box, that's the name of this field, the ID of this field, has the value Dale Warner. The date time picker has somebody confirm I'm not talking to myself.
Yeah. Oh,
thank you. My computer's been freezing, and I apologize for that. So then date time picker with the UTC formatted would return this other value. So you can see all the values that are created on submit, right? Well,
So on submit, okay. Which is a different side than other times when you're before you have submitted.
Correct. These are not all there at JavaScript time, for example. But at the point where you click submit, you've always, for example, for a date time picker, and I didn't name it, so it's just date time picker, but you've always had access to this date. And these other things were being created for you that you may or may not have known about. So you could get the date time offset or the formatted value or the day of the year. All these things were always there for you to access, but you may not have known they were there. So this tells you what the state of your current tokens is, and any other token that you create. I'm sorry, open this form up and do a little bit more. So this is the demo form, and so we see that there is the year and so there's date time picker year, for example, is a value, and date time picker day is a value. I'm going to copy these so I can use them. So I'm going to add a new create update tokens.
Boy, the number of times I've taken the entire date and tried to parse it out into individual pieces. I would have liked to have understood that that was all there. That's good to know.
So I'm creating a new thing, year day, here, a new token, and I'm going to put it above my get it out of the my get context JSON. So the fact that I'm creating this, it's not just the things on the fields on the form, but it's also any other tokens that you create. So we're going to have a new one called year day. And so when I save this and run it, so year day now has a value of this, right? So thinking about this in terms of a debugger, if you're having problems with your logic, why didn't it go down this particular path? Why wasn't this condition true? If you use this tool or the one that we're eventually going to publish from Plantain App, you'll be able to see what was the value of a token before and maybe after a step and see what changed, and just kind of normal debugging kinds of things. The other thing it does is since it returns it as JSON, now you can manipulate it and perhaps save it. It's a good way to save the state of whatever the context is at the moment.
Yeah, that looks very valuable.
That's a very handy tool. Thank you.
And so it's just you download the extension and install it via the extensions, and you get the action. And just while we're there, the action, whoops, not this one. The action that I wrote has a maximum length. Sometimes the context can get huge. For example, if you have a file in there, some base 64, some images, whatever, that might get huge. And so if you want to prevent it from being too big, you can put in a value besides blank or 0, and it will limit it to that number of characters. So just show you the beginning of it. That was useful to me one time. I don't know why. But the other one is omit prefixes. So for example, if you don't want things that have to do with date in your output, this will suppress it. So you'll only get other things. So sometimes there's prefixes of things that maybe that you can work in terms of the prefix of the name of the field to suppress them. And you can put multiples there. So you get get rid of the things you don't want and just focus on the things that you do. I'm sure our action that we come up with from Plant an App will be much better. Among other things, we're contemplating, I mean, I'm returning a name value pair, but we will likely also output a JSON object that would be ready to go right back into a parse JSON action. So it'd be a more a normal object instead of name value pairs. So both of those are useful, and they'll probably both be provided. That in fact was a feature request, and I'm going to find that and bring that up. Nope, I'm sorry, different feature request. This is the opposite thing. Sorry for skipping around. This the ability to have a token name. You can create a token by passing a token name instead of just a static text. Would allow you to do a more dynamic creation of tokens, and in fact you could use the tool I was just showing you to reload the context from that array. So potentially you could save an array of whatever current state and then use this reverse thing. Anyway, this is currently in code review for version 125, so I expect to see this one very soon. The ability to create tokens using a token name.
That's good to hear. Yeah, I've looked for that a number of times.
And I think it was a very small thing. What you're going to see is there's going to be a checkbox to say, but because the default behavior of this is we in the distant past we took care of people that didn't know whether it was time to use brackets or not, and so I think I believe it to be true that if you currently pass brackets in for your token name, it'll still do the right thing, the thing that you were intending, even though you didn't get the syntax right. So in order to keep from breaking those people, there's actually going to be a checkbox that says I want to be able to pass in tokenize the token name. And so other than clicking the checkbox, you'll be able to use that. It'll be very, very straightforward. And I think there's some interesting use cases for this. For example, being able to loop through an array and create customer 1, customer 2, customer 3 as individual tokens that you can then use to populate fields on the form or manipulate. So anyway, this is in progress. So that's I switched over to feature requests. And then there was another feature request, and let me find this one. The Plant an App cog menu to open settings in a new tab. This is already wish granted. Now that you can right click and open these in a new tab. So just you can use the slide out or you can open a new tab. That's handy. Flipping back to contributions, the Low Code Cafe from Wednesday, I did showed a demonstration of how to do connected forms, what you get out of it, and some load state, save state stuff. And I did it while I did this work in Cafe so that or in the Campfire site. So exactly what I was working on Wednesday, you can take a look at. So if you want to do a connected form and see any of that, it's available here as a demonstration. And then today I had a question from somebody about trying to understand why a server request didn't work. They were using the server request action and was concerned about what the remote site was seeing. They didn't have any way to tell that. So what I've done is added an API that you can post to, and whatever the body of that you post, it's just going to it'll accept that, and it logs it here in the both in a table and then displays it to the right. So if you just want to test being able to pass a body. So you can do it interactively here, or you can just post directly to that address and then see what comes up on the other side. But one of the things about it is expecting JSON, so you have to say content type application JSON. So a little tester tool. Hopefully somebody will find that valuable.
Also very nice.
Those, I think, I don't know that there's anything in the form that is important to talk about, but we can look. For anyone who participates in these questions, I do appreciate that you add your experience as people post. Sometimes it's just a basic, how do you get from here to there question. One of the inspirations for doing the connected form demonstration that I did on Wednesday was a client that was trying to do exactly that. So I just wanted to document the pattern of how you create a connected form. But then also there was a question of, hey, I have a specific field type on a page, and by the time I get to connected form, there's no value for this thing. So this again was an argument for getting this tool that reveals the content of your context. You can at least see what's in there and what's not. And if it's not in there, then you can start. Maybe it's in I mean, if you can spot your values, then maybe you're just using a wrong syntax or something like that. So again, those things kind of all play together, the tool to be able to explore what you have. And while we're here, I would just encourage anybody else that has tools or techniques, and you have a few minutes to drop them in here. I use this all the time to pull out, oh, I need to do something. How was it done? And I suppose I'm just talking here. If anybody has a better topic, let me know. But other than that, I'm going to show you what I've been up to. We had a question yesterday about search, and this whole search section of the documentation wasn't here yesterday. I did some writing and got it written up, but somebody wanted to know how to set up search behaviors, like to have a different behavior depending on your language, or you want to have different content depending on different search boxes. So this is a step-by-step guide with a video how to set up search behaviors. So if you have any interest in that topic, it's out there now in our documentation. And this is kind of a new pattern that I guess this would be a New Year's resolution, right? You can come back a year from now and see if I actually did this, but As I get questions, I'm going to try to write up in this format and start adding to the how-to section. I've had clients that have pointed out that the old documentation on the DNN Sharp website used to have a nice how-to do this and how to do that. And so if we, as I'm answering questions, creating how-to topics, then it'll be out there for everyone to access. So a little bit more investment on my part. Patrick, we got 4 minutes to kill. Do you have anything that you've been working on?
Want a ghost story?
Sure.
Actually, this ghost story involves Jen, who's on the call. Earlier this week, or last week, I guess actually, we were looking at this bizarre thing, a workflow that seemed to be working, doing exactly what it was intended to do when logged in as a super user, but when logged in as the person who's actually going to be doing the action that was required of the workflow, it wasn't working. And so it was leading us toward permissions, and we were exploring every possible permission route we could, and everything was checking out. And so then we loaded the user at the beginning of the workflow to just see if we run the workflow in the context of that user, does it work? And it worked. And so what it ended up being that both of us were just kind of glossing over and not seeing was that there was a token as a condition on an execute actions for each list, and that token actually was calling a property of the list. And so what we figured out was that as a super user, the token was resolving to blank, but as a regular user, it was passing the text to the token, so it wasn't blank. And so it was simply a misplaced token. We actually needed to move the token to the action that was being run in the execute actions for each list entry. And yeah, so the token was my user list : ID does not equal blank. And as a super user, my user list : ID was resolving to blank, so the actions were running. But as a non super user, it was I'm guessing resolving to that text, and so the actions were never running. So just something to share with you guys to keep in mind is that evidently there are different behaviors of how tokens are resolved.
And what was difficult about this one was there was no error. There was no message. It just didn't run.
Simply because
it was inside of a workflow.
Yeah, and the token was it was just a matter of a token having a condition having a different result. It was true as the super user and false as the regular user. So yeah, that wouldn't produce an error.
There was actually no error at all. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it, I think this ghost story illustrates two great points. The one that you just made, that the condition resolved to either true or false, and but was different based on the user because the tokens resolved differently. But the other is this construct of you shouldn't use the list name of value from the list at this level. That my user list exists. I mean, presumably there was a load create list from SQL or some action beforehand that created it, and so the token existed, but all the fields only exist when you're down here in the actions.
We were so focused on the permissions thing that we kind of didn't really look at the condition to see that issue was there.
So a create list from SQL creating my user list. This does create a token, whatever the SQL value is, and it has nice values, like you could check the my user list count to see how many things were in there, but you can't use any of
the properties of the list.
The properties, yeah, subordinate. So, good. All right, great ghost story. And with that, we've made it to the top of the hour. It's been another fabulous show. Solved a lot of things. Glad that you guys come and join us week by week. In a minute, we'll turn off the recording and you can stick around for the afterglow if you have a minute. And other than that, we will see you hopefully next week. Thanks all.